Welcome to Short Game Long Talk, a video game podcast for a hectic life. I'm Eric, joined by my co-host Jess.
If this is your first episode, hey, welcome in. On the show, we play short games that fit into a busy real-world schedule.
We do this show because we both think it's important to continue to play games and have memorable experience, even if life is a bit crazy. Like if you're Jess and you stay up until 1 a.m. last night doing a report. Or you're like me, who just like chooses not to sleep on some nights before work. It's really dumb. But that's not why we're here. We're here to also introduce our guest host for this episode for the first time. We have a new face. That's cool. It's not Jordan, Chris, or Grace. We have Phil from 70% Complete, formerly known as Codex. He is a amazing lore master, amazing blogger, amazing writer, all that kind of stuff. Phil, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I accept amazing, although I rarely believe that my writing is so.
You had one of the best answers to our Game of the Year episode. So you're definitely a very well written person, which I am not, as you can tell by my mumblings. Tell us a little bit about 70% Complete.
Yeah, sure. So it's a blog, it's a podcast, it's a long-suffering YouTube channel, I suppose, with some video essays in there. The general idea is my co-host on Codex, and I guess now the 70% Complete podcast, Logan, he and I have been high school friends, and that is far too long ago now to really tell the years. But we've always wanted to do stuff together. We used to do amateur films. We ran an air guitar band for 2 years. We did theater stuff, and this is the latest iteration of it. So we just get together, talk about things that we should have known, and whether that's lore about video games that I just want to tell someone about, or one of our best episodes is a little show called Info Dumping that we have within the feed about the year 2038 and how that might be a computer apocalypse, and that's fun stuff. But yeah, it's just a thing that we put together to put words out onto the internet, and then also give me a chance to talk about all of my weird video game thoughts finally.
Nice. That's awesome. And that can all be found at gordonhamburger.com, right?
It is 70%complete.com now. I finally bought the domain.
Okay, so nice.
70 numeral and then % complete. It's all there.
So Gordon Hamburger is no longer?
Gordon Hamburger lives on in our hearts.
Okay.
But yeah, the URL is gone now.
Yeah, that was a mystery to me. But to get back on the topic of Short Game Long Talk, we are playing I Was a Teenage Exocolonist, or for the rest of the episode, we're going to refer to it as Exocolonist because that is way too long. This is a game by, I believe, Northway Games is the people who published it. They are do you guys know anything about Northway Games?
No.
So they are a husband and wife team, and they are, I believe, self-proclaimed virtual nomads is what they're called. And they basically just travel around with the lightest amount of tech that they can and just go everywhere. And I was like, that's crazy that they made this game in that situation. But yeah, this game came out in, I think it was 2023, I want to say, because I think I missed it by a year. Otherwise, it would have made my Game of the Year list, I think. Let's see. It apparently it won something in 2022. Damn, I was way off on playing this game. I don't know why it took me this long. But yeah, this game, in the continued fashion of making this Game of the Year, my challenge of making the Short Game Long Talk Game of the Year the hardest it's been. This is a game that has been nominated for Best Storytelling, Games for Impact, Outstanding Achievement in Story, Best Narrative, Social Impact, Excellence in Narrative, Excellence in Visual Arts, Game Beyond Entertainment, Outstanding Video Game, Best Video Game, and Best Gameplay. And it won Best Video Game at the Canadian Screen Awards and Best Gameplay. Also, the second game of the year from a Canadian developer, which a very random trend that I did not plan. But yeah, how would you guys, Phil, you're new. I want to hear how you would describe this game.
Ooh, it's equal parts I guess, choice-based visual novel and also kind of a card battler. But that I feel like that's incredibly disingenuous for what this is, as mostly a game that will make you cry.
Jess, how about you take a crack at it then?
Honestly, I was literally going to say what Phil said.
So I take it you guys both played it with the card game turned on then.
I played it for like half of my first run, but I was running out of time, if I'm going to be completely honest.
Yeah, you've been busy.
So I just switched it to the coin flip.
Coin flip, which I thought was when I found that out, and now like as I've been super busy the last like month, I'm like the coin flip is such a genius like system of instead of because it's not just like because I just played a game yesterday on stream that allowed you to just skip puzzles instead, and I'm like I like the idea of coin flipping based on your stats, and it's like it's more of a dice roll than a coin flip, but like I like it. It's like, yeah, if your stats are good enough, then you have a better chance of just passing this one, which I thought was cool. But yeah, it is basically like it. The graphics are very simple. They're basically just like give me vibes of a point and click adventure, basically. And you got kind of a just a top down, not a top down view, isometric view with very chibi art for all the characters, and then you go and talk to somebody, and it's like some of the most beautiful art. Like the pieces of art in this game are nuts.
It's like Hades level good
Yes.
character portraits.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you get the funness of the cards that you unlock throughout the game based on. You get what's cool is you get the cards based off of like events that happen in the game and everything like that, and they all have different art and stuff. So you get to see characters in different environments and whatnot. But let me read just what the game is basically. Okay, so the player starts as the game as a 10-year-old going through the events that affect the colony on a new planet. And I think it's not like a spoiler that it's like Earth that you left, right? Like they pretty much say that like you left Earth, and you basically play for 10 years. You very similar to like Persona. You make a decision, and that's what you do for the month, and then you do that. Is it 12? I never really paid attention too much. Is it like 12 months of the year, or is it like
So
random?
it's
3 of
13.
That's right.
It's the 3 or the 4 main months and then the glow season.
Right, the glow
Right.
season. Yeah, and so you're basically a colony on a new alien planet, and your whole setup is to be like, you know, to colonize and to spread and everything like that because Earth is a hellscape, completely unrealistic hellscape that you know could never happen. But no, it's basically a just yeah, it's a life sim, dating sim, and like you can do so many things. And as I'll touch on when we talk more spoilers, like there's some stuff I didn't even do until I was like age 17 on my first playthrough, and I was like, oh shit, I probably should have been doing this the whole time. But it is also this is a mild spoiler, but basically if you look up anything about this game, it'll tell you like go into your first playthrough blind, and it's like why are people saying the first playthrough? It's because there is a like time loop mechanic in the game, and you can find that out really quickly if you mess up your first run really quickly. You can find out that it's a time loop, and basically that's where the game gets interesting because it is a good story. If this was just like a one time through restart, it would be a good story, and you could use your mind and your memory to go through it as like you've experienced it and you can make decisions. But I think it is a genius level game decision to be like, nope, this is a mechanic. Not only do you, the player, know your character soul, which is basically the completely like gender neutral version of the name because there's like multiple names that you can choose from, memorizes the stuff too, and things unlock based off of past playthroughs, future playthroughs. There's all different kinds of stuff. But what was your guys' first experience, Jess, when you first played this game? Because this is another game that I just basically told you to trust me and play it.
Yeah. Literally immediately as I logged on, I turned to my roommate who was sitting like right behind me, and I went, "This is so cute."
Yes.
Because the art style, like as you mentioned, like it is just amazing art style, and I didn't even realize until because my gaming setup is my little HP laptop connected to a monitor. That's it. And so I was using my mouse to like go everywhere and choose everything. And I was complaining to my roommate about how like, oh, I hate like having to click to go to where I wanted to go. And they were like, use WASD. You can. I
Yep.
didn't I didn't think to use it. Which did make part of my gameplay a lot easier once I started to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I'm a Minecraft person at heart.
Yeah.
So I'm used to that. But I really liked it. I got attached to some characters that we will discuss later.
Yeah, that'll be like the pre-spoiler, like before we can kind of talk about like which characters we like the most, but then we'll get deep into it because these characters are deep.
Yeah. I got way too attached to one.
I'm very curious.
Yeah, I'm super curious.
Because I think the thing that this game does really well is you will find yourself in this game. Like there is at least one aspect of one character in this game that you will identify with, like exactly.
Yeah. I just really liked it overall. Like, I don't know, everything I'm like thinking about trying to say all involves like later in the storyline spoilers, so I'm trying to keep it like as vague as I possibly can at the moment. But there are definitely times where I was like, I turned to my roommate and I was like, bro, you need to play this. You'll understand.
Yeah. I think this is a game that I think the to go into just briefly before I pass it off to Phil, the card mechanic is like very, very cool. It's about like pairs and colors and numbers and like buffing abilities and like it's kind of like Balatro before Balatro, where it's like you get 5 cards basically to play, and you're trying to make like there's 4 colors: red, yellow, red, blue, and green. Is there green, or is there only 3 colors?
3 colors.
There's only 3 colors, and then there's a wild card that you unlock like later. And basically, like if you line them up, you get a flush. If you get them in the descending or ascending order, you get like a straight. All very similar poker rules. And then there's like modifiers, like all cards to the left and right become 2 or whatever. And it's like, oh my god, this is so complex and so cool. And it can become overwhelming later in the game when you have like a ton of cards. But before I pass it off to Phil, I do want to read the message he sent me after I told him to play this game. Basically, he got was it an achievement or it was you got like the little icon thing from Steam, whatever those are.
Yeah, it was like a Steam card or something.
Yeah, and it's a picture of Tammy, one of the characters, and he says, "What have you convinced me to play?" And I said, "I apologize for nothing." And he says, "I've been playing for half an hour."
Yep. Yeah, and we'll talk about why Tammy is important probably in the spoiler section.
Yeah, just a little bit, because that sets the tone. But yeah, Phil, what was your first impressions aside from that little bit of the game?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, stepping into it at the beginning. So I came into this kind of blind. I remember listening to I think it was an episode of Into the Aether.
Yeah.
Where I think Steven brought Exocolonist, and I remembered that from I guess 2022 when it came out. And all I remember is that it's a time loop story. There's a card game, and the advice that you should probably pick 1 or 2 of the colors to focus on instead of all 3. Like being a jack of all trades is not the way to go with this one. So I did that when I was playing through it, and it didn't feel limiting. Like I think we'll talk about this in a little bit, but I was playing this at the same time as Citizen Sleeper 2, and it's actually a really good companion. Like this is a much kinder version of the world sometimes, but I was just really taken by like how beautiful it was. I enjoyed exploring, and I feel like the game really lets you dig into the world and kind of play around with stuff. And then also just all of the characters are great. Most of the characters are great. Perhaps
Most of
one
the
of them is not great.
perhaps
But
one or two are not that great.
yeah.
Um,
But I loved it. It was fun.
yeah, it's exceptionally well written, and it is interesting playing it alongside Citizen Sleeper 2, where Citizen Sleeper 2 is like it feels so unique, and even though there's probably like just as many choices in this game feels way more authored. Because even though like you have all these different choices you can say to people, um, it does feel a bit more authored, and it feels like no matter what you do end up kind of we'll probably have a lot of shared experiences where it's like I don't know how many shared experiences I had with Jordan or if I'd have with you, Phil, on Citizen Sleeper 2 because it is so like vast. But that was speaking of choices, that's another really cool thing that I think this game does is like it highlights what will happen or what you need to make a certain choice, which was
Yeah.
beautiful because sometimes it's like oh, if I click on this, what happens? But in this, it's like, no, if you click on this, you're going to get this card and this thing will probably happen. Or you can't do this because you're missing this amount. And it's like, okay, cool, great, love that. Because as somebody who plays like Persona and stuff, sometimes you don't fucking know what you're supposed to choose. And I like being able to choose like with all that extra knowledge. Is there anything else you guys would like to talk about this game that you would like to cover? Some of the gameplay stuff, anything that kind of stood out to you early on, or would you guys like to kind of move into like a soft spoiler section where we kind of talk about the characters?
I'm trying to think. Oh, I didn't even know until it started happening that we could romance.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
I was just like, oh, these are all friends on a colony. What la 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 la. And then the first like next to your like choice, there's a little
Mhm.
like kissing that tells you like, oh, this is the flirty option. I was like, oh, I can flirt now.
If I send you a game that has socialization, you can bet your ass there's romance in it. I promise you. Uh, Yeah, no, the romance in this is honestly extremely well done.
Yeah,
Except for the fact that like it does lean into my least favorite thing in any dating sim, which is like if you do not give people gifts all the time, they don't like you. And I'm like, that shouldn't always be the case. It should just develop that relationship kind of thing. But aside from that, I do think the romancing mechanics in this are very good and varied because there's not very
yeah,
many games like this where you can date somebody, break up with somebody, and go date somebody else, and it's okay because that's real life. Which I think this game is grounded heavily in like real world things, and a lot of the endings of this game kind of like emphasize that, which we'll get into. But that definitely stood out to me. Phil, did you have anything else you wanted to cover before we talk about characters?
I mean, the only thing I really want to make sure that we hammer home before we get into the characters is that the character art is beautiful,
Hmm.
but also the fashion is just completely off the wall. It
Oh, it's
is
so good.
so good and like incredibly unique and is the most like hot pink cyberpunk, but in like
Hmm.
a good way. It just feels like bubbly and nice and makes you think that this is going to be a happy fun times game all the
Yes.
time, and it really isn't, but everyone just looks impeccable. It's
Yeah.
so pretty.
Every single character telegraphs what they will be like because
Yep.
based on their clothing, and it is very good.
yeah. I loved. I loved everyone's outfits. They were so cool.
They're
Mhm.
so dope. Okay, so we can go into mild spoilers. We'll talk about. We're basically going to cover all of the characters, and we can kind of talk about them as children, right? We're not going to talk about them as because that's the other thing. This game does an exceptional job of. There's three arts for most of the characters that you can like romance and stuff, which is like child, 10 years old, middle age, like I think it's like 14 or 15, and then like young adult, like 18. And most of the time, they look bad, like in the future, right? Like in other games. But in this game, like each step, every character's art, like it's like, yeah, that's still the same person. And I can tell they've been through something or changed a bit, but they're still like the same person. Um, so that I have to like applaud this game at like nailing that art.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
like watching a Pokemon protagonist turn into a Persona protagonist at the end.
yeah. I'm literally looking at Nem and like yeah, her whole like 1, 2, and 3 is just like fucking Charmander to Charizard. It's so
Yep.
funny. Okay, so yes, let's talk about characters. Who did you guys choose as your childhood best friend on your first playthrough?
On my first playthrough, I chose Cal.
Cal. Okay. What about you,
Oh,
Phil?
I went with Dees.
Dees. Okay.
Mm.
And I went with Nem because I was like, I knew all of my friends were like Nem when I was a child. So that's very funny. Why did you guys choose them? Or was it a mechanic of being like, I liked the ability it gave me?
I just read his description. I was like, oh, he seems like a nice friend.
Yeah. Which I think is a good way of describing Cal. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like can't quite remember what the first like trinket and stuff I got
Mm-hmm.
was, but I remember thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play like a normal person who's gonna
Mm-hmm.
be like mostly bookish and would probably like to have a bookish emo friend.
Yeah. Deese's like his preteen age is straight up the most emo kid I've ever seen in
Yeah.
my entire
yeah.
life. But yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah, so what was some of your guys' like first impressions with the characters? So we have I'm just going to talk about the childhood kids right now. So you have Nem or Anemone. We have Dees, which I won't say his full name because that's technically a spoiler. Tangent or Tang, Tammy, Mars, which is Marzipan. And when I found that out, because she says that pretty early, Marzipan is hilarious. And then we have some other kids. And then we have Cal, uh, and I think that's it from the original crew because I don't want to talk about anybody else because that is a spoiler. But of those like original crew, like what was everyone's first impressions on those? Did anybody be like, ew, I don't like this person? Or was it all just happy go lucky when you saw them?
When I first saw, like, because I immediately went and talked to everyone, like, multiple times on my first month, I was like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely liked Dace, don't get me wrong. But after a while, he just didn't like my character. No matter how hard I tried, he's just like, he is how I acted back in 6th grade. Because I would
Yeah.
complain to my roommate, I'm like, this emo boy doesn't want to talk. And they're like, is that not you back in
Yeah.
6th grade when you were heavily emo and had the side swoop hair? It's
Yeah.
like, all right, listen. I think they did such a good job with each of the childhood characters showing how even when you're at the same ages of people, like
Mhm.
your development or like your upbringing just changes you as a person. And like even though they were all born and raised on the same ship basically by like the same people because it takes a village and
Mhm.
on that ship it was definitely a village. Like they just show how different each kid can be. And I think I just love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the easy pitfall that they could have fallen into, and I think right away when you go talk to everyone, you can see them almost do this. You know, Marzipan she's the preppy girl who's really bossy, and you have Cal, who's obviously the um the agriculture farm kid. You have Dees, who is the loner emo kid, Anemone, who is the jock, and then you have Tangent, who is your like smart kid, your mathlete,
Mhm.
and you can see those are just clear stereotypes of 10-year-old kids, and then the moment that you talk to them, they're just complex kids. Like
Mhm.
it's written by, at least it feels like it's written by people who actually understand that kids have internal lives. And it was really surprising that this wasn't just kind of like, oh, she's the bossy one, and so we're not going to be friends with her because she just like wants Tammy to give her sweets all the time. But like she
Right.
was nice. Like once
Yeah.
you like talk to her and like everything, she's great.
Yeah. She's like friends and very much cares about like Tammy and stuff. Like it's
Yeah.
very obvious like Mars could easily be written as a bully, but she's not. She's
Yep.
like she's just Mars. She just is. And that reminds me to mention that everybody in this colony has an augmentation of some kind, right? And that is a part of their character that some of them are hidden, and you have to like really like do certain kind of like mini quests to find out what they are, and some of them are very outright. Like for example, Nem is hard to hide because she has scales on her body. And basically, for an example of what her augmentation is basically if she ever gets a cut or a bruise or any kind of damage, scales grow over it and like harden like armor, which is hilarious for the kid that's like extremely rough and rowdy. And then you have other ones that are like, I don't even think I know them because they're, without looking them up, like they're very hard. In spoilers, I will say my favorite one, but yeah. And then some of them are very obvious, like NEMS, where it's like a visual thing. But did anybody's kind of stand out to you that wasn't like something like that that you found out early on? That's not like a late game one.
I mean, just by like looking at her character Tammy with her ears,
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
Yeah,
'Cause
her little
it's-
elf ears.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
hers. I can't
Yeah, I
remember.
think it is. It's like hearing or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I think she has the same augmentation as her dad, and her dad also has the big ears.
Oh wait, hold on. Where'd it go?
But yeah, that's one thing that's like a classic dating sim thing is like if you click on somebody's profile, it says like their age, their height, their birthday, their favorite thing, their augmentation, like all their relatives, all those things, which is like you see that and you're like, oh yeah, we're playing a dating sim, all right. We got a notebook about a person, basically. And that's kind of fun to get into and figure out like, oh, how much when is somebody's birthday? Oh, if you give them a gift on their birth or their birth month, you get bonus points, and which is like the only time to give them a gift because otherwise it's just a waste of time. Phil, did you notice anybody's that were like right away? You're like, what is this? What's going on with this kid?
I'm trying to remember. I don't think I found out what Tangents was for a while, but that
Tangents
one
is
was
crazy.
yeah, Tangents is really crazy. And I'm trying to remember. I don't think I know some of them.
Yeah, I
Like I
definitely
think
off the top of my head have no idea on like a handful of them.
Yeah, I don't.
yeah.
He was my childhood friend, and I did not know Cal's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I know
yeah.
Cal's either.
It's probably something kind of boring, if I'm going to be honest, based on Cal as a person. But
They are. I feel like they're very wide ranging. Where it's anemone and anemone can do the like scales, and then Dees has a really wild one, and
yeah,
then like you can pick for yourself. There's a bunch of different ones you can pick at the beginning, and you can have like a sixth finger or
right.
really
the
good
hearing.
eyes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or hearing or something like that. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like that. What you just mentioned, Phil, is a good example of like the choices you can make. Like throughout the game, they just give you these choices that will be like influence the next like year or two of your life, kind of thing, or how you develop. Because there is a skill tree, or not a skill tree. There's a like, I guess there's three things, three categories that all line up to each card. So, and then I think there's four like little skills in between each one, right? Like for each category, like there's 4 yellow skills, 4 blue skills, 4 red skills, and they all kind of depend on what you do. So making choices where you're like, you can go do like research in the lab, and that'll give you blue skills of some kind, or there'll be you can do like you can sneak out and go explore the valley, and that'll give you red stuff. Or sometimes they intermix, and you'll get some red and yellow. And that's a balancing act for sure to get them, because it's basically you get like a few skill points, and it goes from 0 to 100. So there's quite a bit of balancing there. Did you guys have any issues with that on your first playthrough?
I had
I-
personal issues.
Okay.
I'm just like an extreme completionist, and even
Yeah.
going into this knowing that it was a game that you cannot complete the first time through, I basically just abandoned all the yellow skills and
Okay.
perhaps felt the pain of that later in the game.
Gotcha. What
I
about you,
was-
Jess?
Kind of the opposite of Phil. I also wanted to go the completionist route, but by like year 13, I was like, ooh, I'm not gonna be able to get all of this done, like all of these 100%ed by the time I hit 20. By combat, gonna go straight into humanities and research.
Yeah. I was a straight up research nerd because of circumstances in the game that we'll talk about. And yeah, my combat was ass. It was bad. And that was not on purpose. Like I tried, but due to story reasons, I'll talk about why it was so bad. But yeah, that I think, but it's such a good, like, this game basically asks you, like, if you could go back in time when you were like 10 years old and relive your life to 20, like, could you do it better? Right. And like, basically, that first time through is us playing, reliving our, like, just doing our lives normally. And of course, you're going to suck at most things because guess what? We all sucked at most things when we were 10 to 20 years old. There might have been some stuff we were good at. And I think it encapsulates this game like perfectly to be like, this is just life. Like this game is set on a foreign planet with weird augmentations and AI that can become your best friend, people dying, there's famine, there's all this stuff, but it's also just like real life. Like the whole game is just real life. It is the most like actual representation of a real world like society that I can like at least on a personal level that I feel like I've ever seen in a game. It's just incredibly well done.
Bad shit happens, and then you still have to go to class.
Yeah.
Yep. Bad shit, really bad shit happens, and you
Bad
still have to
shit
go to class.
happens.
But is there anything basically of the game in these first like 20, 30 minutes that we've been recording that, as a pitch that you want to say before we go into actual deep spoilers?
I forgot to mention,
Mhm.
this game is so friendly to the LGBTQ
Oh, yes.
community. You can choose your gender, if you're non-binary, how you present in the game. You could go after all the characters.
Yeah, you can.
Some characters, like if you read into their other interactions, like you'll see other characters flirting with the same gender. There's parents where both parents are same sex. A bunch of different things, and that was really cool to me because a lot of my friends are LGBTQ plus, so it was like, oh my god, it's my friend group here.
Yeah. It's just like real life, like this is how it should be, where it's like, yeah, because the way I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way like families even work is you just kind of apply to like have a kid, and then somebody has a kid, and then you are given a kid, and it's like you can have the kid yourself if you're capable of that, or you have a kid from somebody else, and it's like gene splicing. So like if a same-sex couple has a baby, they basically like there's a surrogate or of some kind, and they just splice the DNA because Mars has two dads, but she shares perfect DNA with her two dads. Am I remembering that correct?
I think so.
Yeah. There's a lot of crazy sci-fi stuff in this game that like we will definitely not cover, but it is like it's all over the place to like find out like, oh wow, that's a cool little tidbit. Phil, was there anything else you wanted to cover?
No, I don't think so. Most of my thoughts are reserved for the spoiler zone.
I'm excited. Yeah, definitely a good call, Jess. I definitely wanted to point out how LGBTQ plus friendly this game is because, yeah, my personal favorite soul is completely non-gender conforming soul style wise because you can do masculine or feminine or somewhere in the middle, and somewhere in the middle is the best because you get like the long hair and like yeah, it's a good look. I do wish you could be like male, female, and then pick the hair as well because the hair is mostly what changes. They do a really good job of like keeping the character this pretty much the same based on whichever you choose, and then pronouns and whatnot are changed, and then they never ask you your sexuality or preferences like that because they're just like no, go wild. It's a free zone. You can do whatever the hell you want.
It's
okay,
the future.
Great. Yeah, and literally, it's the future, and it's the way it should be. Okay, so you're gonna hear a little ding in a second, and that means it's time for spoilers. All right, here we go. Spoilers, but very light spoilers to start. So if you're still here, and if you want to hear the juicy gossip about who we dated in the game, that's what we're going to start with. So, what was everybody's dating experience? Jess, I want to hear who you ended up with. Did you find somebody attractive right away, get to know them, and be like, ew? Or did you like hone in on somebody right away and like that worked out for you?
I didn't like immediately was like, ooh, you.
Mm.
Except for one of the oh my god, the New Colony
The
kids.
Helios
Yeah, the
Helios.
kids.
Helios.
Yeah.
But I did for my first playthrough. I am a like for myself, like personally, I always like having like a friendship before I date people.
Mm-hmm.
And for the Saint Valentine's Day,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I already know my best friend forever. It's Cal, because we were childhood best friends and whatnot. So my first playthrough, I was like, I'm gonna just romance Cal. He's the one I always talk to. I also my extra stat was the brain one where you had like a +1 in biology.
Okay, nice.
So I was like always in geoponics because of the parentals. Um, and also I just
The
thought it was cool.
parentals.
And so I romanced Cal for my first one. But I ended up not liking being in a relationship with Cal, but I was like, well, I'm already like it was by age 19 where I was like, damn, I
He's kind of
don't.
milk toast, right?
Huh?
Like he's milk toast just means bland and boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gives. There's a
And
reason. So like,
mhm.
we're in spoilers section. Like early on, within the reason Phil sent me that message was that Tammy dies like super early, and obviously in future playthroughs you can keep her alive. And there's a reason she ends up with Cal is because they're both kind of boring.
They're both boring, and they made a pact to each other when they were younger
Mhm.
of that they will marry each other.
Yes. But
And
you can
that
still date both of them if they're both alive. Like you can still like just date Cal and like ruin that, which is kind of weird. I'm like, if they're both alive, I feel like it's necessary that they just end up together.
and here's the thing. When I like because at age 19, every other interaction I had with Cal was like, I miss Tammy.
Oh my god.
Like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be a downer. It's just like when we were younger, I promised I would marry her and like she's not here anymore. You're saying that to your partner?
And
Are
she's
you
been dead for like
kidding me?
9 fucking years at this point. That's crazy. But that's so real. There's so many people like that for sure. So that's
Yeah.
actually like really well done, but that is crazy. Um, yeah, Cal's a tough choice. How about you, Phil? What was your first time through?
I was Tangent all the way.
Yes, me too. Hell yes.
She was my second playthrough.
Yep.
Phil, I knew we shared a bond on stuff like this. Yeah,
Yep.
Tang is the best, dude.
She's
She's
great.
yeah.
I love how complex. I'm sure that they all are. Maybe not Cal.
Yeah.
But I like how complex they are. And kind of like you, Jess, I actually remember, I think you get one of the first flirt options. It might be like at a relationship level or something, but I got it really early with Tangent when I was like
Yes.
10, and I was like, no, this feels weird to me. Like I'm just gonna kind of like let this develop and see where it goes. But it was a nice, it was a good relationship, and then it had also kind of its bittersweet ending for me, at least.
Yes. The ending is so sad,
Yeah.
but it makes perfect sense. But yeah, Tangent basically, so I saw like the trailer for this and I saw the adult art for everyone and I saw Tangent and I was like, yep, no, that's the one. I was like, she's a scientist, she's got short hair, she's got piercings. I'm all on board. This is great. Um, Past me, present me, future me, that is definitely the look that will always get me interested. And she is very complex. And like finding out more about her, like that she is a trans woman, and like obviously in the future, like this is something that she decided really young, and like they just went about it, and so everything is biologically woman and everything like that. And I think they do such an interesting job. We'll talk about it more, but the relationship between her and Deese, they honestly feel like the main characters of this game, like
Yeah.
both of
Yeah.
them. And I would watch a show, like take Soul completely out of it. Like I would just watch a show with like all of the other kids and stuff interacting. But obviously Soul is like, it's tough to have Soul missing, but it's also like, how do you do a show about this game with Soul, who's like omnipotent kind of thing. But
Yeah.
if it were to be a show, like Tangent and Deese would be like the main two characters, I feel like. Yeah, what you mentioned, Phil, was like, yeah, early on you can start flirting with Tangent like really, really early, and it does not benefit you at all, because I definitely saved Scum just because I was curious. And yeah, the less you flirt with Tangent, the better your chances are in the future. Until later, and then it's like she is like all on board, and it's great. And she has some crazy plot stuff that we'll get into. But how about for second playthroughs? Did we change anything?
I did. I went for Tangent the next
Hell
time.
yeah!
But before I went full send with Tangent, because my first time flirting with Tangent on my second playthrough, I was like, oh, I might have fucked it all up.
Mm-hmm.
Because I gave her a flower and she's like, oh, this is beautiful. I'm gonna like put it under a microscope and look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And the option was like, you're more beautiful than any flower. And so I clicked it because I was like, oh, that's such a that's so
cute.
smooth.
Yeah.
That's so cute. And then she's like, please don't say that ever again.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit, I fucked that up.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna let that run its course. Hopefully I can romance her more. But then I also was, because it was so easy to do it, kept like flirting and romancing with Rex.
Rex, yeah.
He's just so adorable.
Rex is one of the kids that comes down with the heliopause, and he's one of the ones that I alluded to that you can tell exactly what his augmentation is because he's a fucking dog man.
Dog.
On my first playthrough, he bothered the fuck out of me. But then I realized as I went on in my second playthrough, he was like my best friend. Like, Rex is a great character that I was like, I judged harshly at first. Phil, how about you? What was your?
I
your second
ignored
playthrough?
most of the heliopause
Mhm.
kids.
Fair.
I chatted a bit with, is her name Nomi?
Yeah.
I went Nami,
Their
but
name Nami.
yeah. Phil, would you like to give a rundown on what the heliopause is exactly, so that people know, like, how fucking huge that event is that happens at age, what, 14, 15, something like that?
14,
Yeah.
15.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you are on the Stratospheric, which is a colony ship of a bunch of, it seems like, exiles from Earth. You lived in some sort of commune, and then you all left Earth, went on this generation ship, went through a wormhole, and then you crash landed, kind of depending on your choices, I guess.
Yeah.
Crash landed on Bertumna. Is that the name of the planet?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay. And then everyone's having a great time. Things go sideways, but you're all pulling yourselves up by your bootstraps, making it through. And then at age 14, the heliopause shows up, which is, I guess, the Earth army that is.
Yeah. I don't know what the fuck their plan was. Like,
yeah. They basically come to the planet and say, hey, you're now all under arrest, but also we need you to make this colony work because we're stuck here too.
Yeah, they crash land as well. Like,
yeah, on the Stratospheric. It's great plot device. They just land on top of your shit after you've had some pretty rough days.
Yes.
And then new government, it's real fashy, and you can kind of deal with that as you see fit. But yeah, they bring, it's Nomi, Rex, and then
Vase.
Yeah.
Vase.
Fuck
Vase.
Yeah. When I said most of them are good characters, I did not mean Vase. He sucks.
Yeah. You can do so much work to make him barely tolerable. Is like the only thing you can do. He is still a piece of shit, no matter what.
That was the one where I was like, because Eric earlier in the episode was like, is there anyone you saw and you thought was attractive on the get-go? At first I was like, oh, who's this guy with a missing arm who's like a year or two older? And then like my first interaction with him, I was like, oh, you are a piece of shit. Yeah, Never mind. And then I got so upset with him and Nemi.
Nami? Nem. Yep. Got it, yeah. Oh yeah, worth noting, you can nickname her whatever the fuck you want. So we probably all have our own pet names for her. Like, I nicknamed her Red. So like,
I didn't get to be that close with her. So I
She's great.
tried. I just didn't
She's
do
great.
sports ball enough, I guess.
Yeah, you didn't do sports ball enough. That was the problem.
Yeah, she was my almost once I saw how the end of the game went.
Mhm.
If I was going to go back and finish like a second playthrough, she would have been maybe a little white knighty, I guess, but I would have probably tried to romance her just so that the whole vase situation did not
Yeah.
work out.
Worth noting, you can break them up and not date her.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you can break them up and not date her because
Okay.
you can just be a best friend. Because it's like you have to break them up to romance, but once you break them up, there is a chance of like being like, I care about you as a best friend kind of thing. So
Okay.
you don't have to white knighty it.
Okay, that's good.
Which I totally get you. But as somebody who picked her as my best friend on my first playthrough, spent a fuck ton of time with her, but was still hyper focused on Tang the whole time. She was my like, I am fucking saving you from face because
Yep,
holy
yeah.
shit.
He's a real piece of shit.
And it's hard too, which is, as somebody who worked in behavioral health, extremely true to get her out of that terrible fucking relationship. She is the strongest fighter, strongest person in the entire colony, and she can't pull herself away from this piece of shit who's obviously a piece of shit. It's so well done. Like it
Yep.
takes you and like so many other people to like get her out of it, and it's so well done. So applaud that writing for sure.
Yeah.
She's great though. If you, Jess, if you ever do another playthrough, like getting to know her, it's definitely bittersweet because like she, I feel like, has the most drastic change from that preteen to a young adult because she is a hard ass for a while. But you can break it down. But it is like that. Her middle year art is my favorite, like one of my favorites in the game, with her huge fluffy hair and everything like that. I love it. So her going to like the militaristic look, I was like, oh man, damn it. But who did you end up with, Phil, for your second time through? Like, or you were saying you were going to go for her?
Yeah,
if you-
I
okay.
did have a fling with Utopia, but
Hell
that was
yeah.
just for fun times to see if you could do it.
Yeah,
She seems great.
Utopia's dope as fuck. She's like an elf with a southern accent. It's awesome.
Yeah, she's great.
I quite literally think when I went on an expedition with Utopia and I saw that I could flirt with her, and I literally like screenshotted it because I was like, what is this choice? Hold on, I'll send it in chat.
Have you seen her grippers though? She's got claw feet.
I did not look at her grippers.
Yeah, let me see. But she's dope. I love her. I'll add it in the voice channel chat real quick. Oh, what's a fine lady like you do? Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Some of the writing in this game is so fucking cheesy, but it's so funny like that. But yeah, if you look at this picture, she's got fucking like,
Yeah, look at that.
she's got claw grippers. But yeah, she's dope. And she was one of my favorite, one of the few adults that like made it through the first playthrough. So we can kind of get through that first playthrough, how we all stumbled through it. Because there's some stuff that I'm very curious if you guys ran into any secret characters on your first playthrough, but I'm assuming that everyone we loved died, correct? On our first playthrough? Did everyone die for you guys too? Like basically,
No.
What do you mean?
well, like everyone that could die died on my first playthrough. No? Phil,
No.
please tell how you prevented people from dying. Who didn't die on your first playthrough?
So I lost Tammy,
Mhm.
Tammy's dad, Tonin, and Hal.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, once they started dropping like flies once a year, I went super hard into the sciences. So
Okay.
I went like really hard into biology and engineering, I think, because I had been exploring. So I had really high perception in animals. And then I stopped starvation. I saved Dad with the shimmer stuff. And then I did lose Uticott. But I saved the parents.
Oh no, the old
The
lady.
governor.
Yeah. Yeah, she's hard to save on your first playthrough. Jess, how did you do on your first playthrough? Did you save like the same
Let me
people
take
too?
a screenshot of right after my. Because, okay, Phil, I don't know if
He
you
listens to
know
the show.
this. Okay, then you know that I have a separate Discord server where only I am in, where I dump
Yes.
all of my yeah. So I'll just do a full screenshot of it
Hell
because
yes.
it's really
We get a
funny.
sneak peek into this chaos channel.
Well, you only get from my first play the couple from the first time I logged in playthrough.
So excited.
Um
Yeah. Just ruined my chance with
Oh,
my mom.
no.
Now dad, I just ruined my chance with Tang. Terrible.
it was one after another after another. I was like, oh
Yeah.
Oh,
damn.
Jess.
It was
That was
literally my mom and then a year later dad.
Mhm.
And then a year later it was a month after my dad, I did the Tang here's a flop. No, it was now's your it was take your chance and lean in for the smooch. Leaned in, she swerved me and I was like, fuck. Ruined my chance with Tang.
Yeah.
So it was just one right after the other, right after the other.
And then the worst one right at the end there.
Right?
Yeah.
Denied the smooch.
Yes. Yeah. Her death, the mom's death, Fluorescent is her full name, I guess. I'm looking it up right.
Flulu.
Flulu?
Flulu. Yeah.
Her death, Phil, have you seen it?
No.
Okay,
I've seen the art, but I have not
Yes,
read
okay.
it or looked at
So
it at
you've
all.
seen the art. She
Devastating.
she just collapses from working to prevent starvation and dies. And it's so brutal.
The
It
way they
is.
describe it,
Mhm.
it was oh, you get called to geoponics, and it goes dad is the first one to see her.
Mhm.
And then you see dad rush over, and the workers in geoponics are it wasn't dramatic. She just knelt down, closed her eyes, slumped over.
Yeah.
And you hear in the description, it's you hear your dad sobbing. It's
It's
devastating.
So ugh.
Yeah. So I'm shocked that you prevented both parents' deaths in the first playthrough because I fucking sucked. I was so bad. Because one thing that kind of, if there's any younger people listening, one thing that this game teaches you is don't fucking listen to the adults at all because they don't know a goddamn thing.
Thanks.
Because what I did was I was like, yeah, I'm a researcher. I'm just doing electronic research inside. I'm doing hydroponic stuff. Well, actually, I wasn't even doing the hydroponic stuff that much. I was just doing research with Tang most of the game. And so I was like, I don't need to go outside. They said don't go outside. It's dangerous. I'm not going to go outside. If you don't go outside, you can't fucking beat this game at all. You can't have any good things happen. So sneak out with Dees as early as you fucking can. Cause damn, you basically that whole half of the game I didn't touch until age 16 or something like that. It was
Oh,
crazy.
whoa.
Yeah, because if you don't sneak out, you don't get a chance to go out until they're yeah, you're old enough, and then you can go with Utopia. And at that point, you're fucked. You don't have time to do anything. So, yeah, that was crazy. But don't listen to the adults. Just go fucking sneak out.
Yeah. That was the benefit of being best friends with Dees, is that
Yeah.
he didn't encourage you anymore, but it always felt I need to figure out what this dude's deal is. I'm gonna go follow him out there.
Yeah.
And then I had the eyes augment, so my perception went up twice as
nice.
fast. So that meant that very early on in the game, I maxed it out and I could just walk past all of the events.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh,
So I could just pick up all of the items, which is super useful for the or walk past the animal. I didn't have to fight any mana cores by I don't know, age 13 or something.
That's
just
crazy.
walk right past them. Yeah. It was,
yeah, so you fucking min-maxed your first playthrough on accident, completely.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome though. But yeah, you have to do quite a bit, but what's nice about this game is that it is a time loop. So in the future, all the shit that Phil did on his first playthrough, he basically never has to do that shit again. It's you go find the spongy cakes in the field and you know exactly what they are. You just fucking plant them. You don't do all the research. You know exactly where to find the cure for your dad, all that stuff. And it saves you years and months and all that stuff. And one thing, I don't know if any of you guys accidentally stumbled across this, but if you save scum, if you go into the future, even just like a month and then go back and there was an option for like a time loop thing, you can access it. Like even if you didn't save, the game is always reading what you're doing, even if you don't save. So like it is constantly being updated on the back end, which is like, I don't know how they did that. That's crazy that they're just like reading every decision, everything that's always happening, even if you never saved it to the game, they know it happened. And I was like, that's crazy. Like that's such a cool mechanic in a time loop game.
Yeah, that's how I think I saw 3 endings that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see if there's anything else. So I assume I mentioned to both you guys about the debug menu. I'm assuming you both used that on your second playthrough.
I like halfway through my first one because I remember talking to you very briefly about you saying like, oh yeah, if you go into the menu, you could turn off the cards.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I used it for though.
Okay. Yeah, so that's just built into the game. The debug menu allows you to like max out your stats. You can phase through shit. You can auto win card battles and stuff, which I think every game should have stuff like that because like at this point, I'm just here for the story. I'm here to talk to people. I'm here to learn more. Like it's a time loop game. Let me just max stuff out. So Phil, did you do what you said you were going to do and experiment with every single button on the debug menu?
I did. Unfortunately, I cannot come here and tell you what Splode mode is. I still don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it possibly does. My second playthrough, I maxed everything out immediately, like friendships, all of it. But the thing that I thought was the most interesting from a time loop perspective is that I was basically able to turn on the "this is my final playthrough" mode, where you see all the options. So it does some like weird game breaking stuff sometimes, but you can talk to anyone. So you like talk to like 10-year-old Tangent and you get all of the like extreme romance options from the end of her thing. You get the stuff about the cure that she's working on, like all of that is right there. Which is how I found out about Socks. Is that his name? Socks?
Yeah, Socks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I found out about Socks. I did not see any of the Cal and Socks stuff until I talked to him. I was like, oh, what's going on with this Socks guy?
Yeah. I think I found that on my second playthrough. That's crazy to do that. I just carried over my stats and then basically what I would do is like I would play the game normally and I would try my best at like, okay, this is what's my best hand? Like what can I do here? And then I would click the debug menu to play my best hand just to see like how did I do? Which is probably why it took me still like 30 hours for like 2.5 playthroughs because I was still technically playing. I wasn't like auto winning everything. Just because I was like, let's test my brain, see if I played the best thing, which most of the time I did not. Because there's some tricky stuff you can. The card game is sneakily like in depth, but that's cool that you can just like kind of just be like, this is my last playthrough kind of thing.
Yeah, like you get the real see the Matrix view on all of it.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And I think games like this should just have that for future. Anytime where you have like skills and things like that don't. Especially in a game like this where it's like if this game was 4 hours per playthrough, I'd be like, yeah, whatever. But it's like 12 to 15 hours per playthrough. What was your guys' final runtime on your first playthrough?
On my first playthrough, I had like 7 hours on it.
Nice. That's pretty good. When everybody dies, it goes a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Less people to talk to.
Yeah, exactly. Less things.
I think I was closer to the 12-hour mark.
Yeah, I think I was around there too. And then I just kind of like dicked around for another 18 hours to get to my like 30-hour mark for that. But I think with the debug menu, which I think everyone should play through it with the debug menu for your second playthrough, because like all the super big surprises and game mechanics are there. Like you did the work on the first playthrough. And it just makes.
I would also say the card game is really fun. By the end of my playthrough with the card game, I'm not a Balatro fiend, so I was kind of over it. It was good to just click the auto win button because I think if there's one piece of criticism I can levy at this game, it is that the card game is fun for the first 8 hours, but the consequences of it don't like. I never felt like it was a really bad thing to end up failing at the card game, where it just kind of
Mhm.
felt
Yeah.
trivial, like a thing that you did in between. At
Mhm.
least the parts I wanted to do, which was talking to all the cute people.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You're like, just get me to
Yeah.
the romance stuff. Come on.
I would like the talkie bits, please.
Yes, you put a lot of work into this art. Let me see it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Speaking of talking to the cute people, did you guys meet Sim?
that was the secret character I was talking about. Did you guys
Yeah.
meet
Oh
him
yeah.
on your first or second playthrough?
Both.
Both. I didn't meet
First.
him
Yeah.
until my second, so I didn't even know who the fuck this guy was because I listened to the stupid adults tell us about Sim. Jess, I'm so curious what your thoughts.
Sim is the alien. Their official name are the Gardeners. They're the native. So I guess we're the aliens. That's like
Yes.
that's a conversation you actually have. They're like, you're an alien. No, you're the aliens. This is my planet.
Yeah.
Um,
Just threw a super hot picture of Sim in
Oh,
the chat.
yeah. I
This
hold on. Let me.
this androgynous angel that like
yeah.
I will
say
send it to. I had a conversation, not a conversation, but my group of friends, and I saw Sim, and all my friends are very boy lovers,
yeah.
and so
Really
I
into black trench coats.
wait, hold on.
Black trench coats, long black hair, pale skin, vampires basically.
Basically,
Yeah, I think Sim is the funniest because the quickest way to unlock him on your like first time meeting him is to like fuck up a bunch. Like he's your reward for being bad at exploration because he saves you a bunch, and that's how you. Because there's the like mysterious stranger cards, and there's three of them. If you get three of them, that's how you meet him. One of the ways, at least. And like, it's so funny that you're like rewarded for being bad at
bad.
exploration.
Well, because his description is like an alien who's always there when you need him most.
Hmm.
Also, to preface before this picture, have either of you seen Arcane?
Yeah, I've seen the
No.
first season.
Okay, let me pull up another picture
Okay.
to help Phil.
Who is the character from Arcane?
Yeah, it's Victor.
Victor. Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I remember Victor.
This picture, I guess, because what
Right. Yeah.
what my friend is talking about is like season 2 Victor, but it still kind of works. So I sent that specific screenshot of of Sim on the ground, and my sweet mate, my roommate, said, "What happened to Victor?"
Yeah.
um,
That's so funny.
there's that little side by side comparison. But
Yeah.
when my roommate came back, because they were at rehearsals for a show that they're in, they came back and they're like, What's that game that you guys are playing for the episode about? Because I thought this was just like a visual novel. Why is that guy so seductive looking?"
Uh-huh. Have you never
Um,
played a visual novel before?
Yeah, I feel like that's in the name, right?
Yeah.
but I really liked Sim, and I was very distraught about his fight with the Manticore.
Oh
Manticores.
yeah.
I took a screenshot of that art too because that art is
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, basically like he gets killed by a manticore
Mm-hmm.
trying to save you or something like that. And yeah, I never there was multiple times I tried to get the gardener related endings and I never could. There was like some issues and it was like I was so deep into the playthrough that I was like, I give up kind of thing. And like, so did Phil, did you get any of the gardener endings? Yeah, that screenshot, that image is crazy.
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah.
Him fighting that manticore is real good. Yeah, I got my first ending was disable the array.
Oh wow. Holy shit,
Wow.
Phil. You crushed it.
Yeah, I saved the world. Everything's great.
Yeah, no kidding. Everyone died on my playthrough.
Yeah.
Before we go into that to endings in general, I think we can go into because those are kind of they're long but not that long. The thing I want to end on is kind of like the individual stories for each character's like endings and stuff, because those are a little more in depth. But I wanted to go into damn, I lost my train of thought. What was it? We were talking about the array, the endings. Damn, I had something and it's gone. Yeah, because the endings I think are very interesting, but the
Wasn't there
garden,
something you both had to talk about?
we did have something, but let me see if I have. There's something else right now that I was just talking about with Sim,
Well,
with
you do
the
that. I have a
yeah,
funny story about the sim thing.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
So, first playthrough, I had gotten to the point where he got killed by the manticore.
Mm-hmm.
And then I stopped going out because I was like, well, if Sim's not out there, I don't really care that much.
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped going out. Second playthrough, I went out and I saw the sim with the little exclamation point. I was like, okay, I remember that this was the time where he got killed by a manticore. I'm gonna save him this time. So I go and I like am victorious in my save, and then we have a little smoochy smooch, and basically what the game says is, like, to sum it all up, basically the kiss session that we had distracted him so much that he didn't realize there was another manticore and he still died.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, because
And
Poor
it's
Sim.
yeah.
I was so distraught, and my roommate at this point was like invested because like my sim is very attractive, and
Yeah.
my roommate would very much agree. So I was like, "Oh, I saved Sim! I saved Sim!" And then they're like, we're both watching as I'm like choosing all the different like romance options on Sim, and then it's like, oh no, another manticore is heading your way. Sim pushes you out of the way and takes the bite to the neck. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god. And they're like, did your kiss just kill Sim?
Yep.
And then I
Yeah.
went out again and I had the whole new plot line with Sim
Hmm. Yeah,
of
I never
him.
got that triggered. I was really frustrated because I was like trying to get that second plot. Like he died, and I never
Mhm.
saw him again every single time. And it was like I don't know what was going wrong with my playthrough, but that is like a canon event, a canon quote unquote death. I did remember what I wanted to talk about was how did we feel about Mr. Kombucha's death?
Oh yeah.
The
Oh yeah.
one unpreventable death in this game. Everybody
Yeah, it's
else
fucked
can be
up.
saved. He can't be saved.
That's Anemome's brother, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was making sure I had the right one. I don't I felt bad for Anemone for
Hmm.
sure. I was just wasn't attached to Calm too much to be
Yeah.
like, no, Calm. But I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that sucks, especially because it was like my mom died and then Calm died like right after for me.
Hmm.
So it was like I was more focused on the fact that my mom was dead and I was in mourning and all my stats were -1 for
Yeah.
3 months.
Yeah. That's a 1-2. That's a hell of a 1-2 punch. To have that happen. Because yeah, I think that's another very interesting thing in this game that you get negatives like to your stats and stuff during mourning periods, and I think that's really like accurate, right? Like you're not going to be as good at your stuff. Phil, you had a more reaction to Calm's death. How did you feel about it?
That was the first battle with the faceless, right?
I
The
think
first
so.
like
Yeah.
huge monstrosity.
Yeah.
I so I learned the don't listen to the adults lesson kind of early in that game. So I think every glow season except one. And like glow is it's the season at the end of everything where everything turns like you're glow bowling. I guess
Hmm.
everything is
It's
bioluminescent. It's like
yeah.
beautiful. But it's the also the season when everything just fucking attacks your colony, and it
Yeah.
gets worse
Yeah.
and worse and worse as it goes. And after I think only one of them I just hid in the crash, and everyone else I was just like, I'm gonna go be brave. I'm gonna go help out.
Hmm.
So I was there when Calm died, and I think the gut punch of the game also very similar to the Sim thing, where the sim death is your reward for hitting 100% relationship with them. Your reward for being brave and helping there is that Calm still dies, and you have to watch it happen, and then you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And it's brutal, and how it affects, like, it is much more effective of a death than like Tammy, because like I also didn't see Calm that much throughout the game, but it was like very clear that like he's the all-star big brother
He's
varsity jacket.
everyone's big brother, basically. Like, he's the
Yeah.
only one that we interact with of that age. Like, he's like the one that's like everyone's like cool cousin, basically. And him dying, like, I understand why he has to die, because you would basically have to write an entirely new character for Nem, like completely different plot line. Like, it's her total motivation to like become who she is as a young adult. But God, would I love to have Nem continue to be like her happy-go-lucky self, and her brother's still alive.
Yep.
I think there is one thing I'd like to. There's a pretty like decent modding community for this game specifically, and like people have like modded in new characters, new plot lines, and I'm very curious if there's a save Calm one, because you basically have to rewrite Nem completely as a new character. But yeah, that death is rough, because Tammy's, they do a really good job of telling you, because it's like so sudden and
Yep.
so unceremonious, right? Like, Calm dies a hero, right? He's like protecting she just gets electrocuted and dies, and it's just like done,
Yeah.
over with.
That
And it's so sad, and it really sets a tone for the rest of the game.
I think that also was what put me off a little bit from Dees, was because right off the bat, after Tammy's death, Dees was like, I heard she got electrocuted and got sent flying through the crash or something.
Mhm.
And she hit, before she even hit the wall, she was dead. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
Like, why
yeah.
would you? I get that, like, that's the whole point of his character, but I was like, dude, everyone's mourning.
Read the room, bro.
I think
And
as a friend, you had like a equally jokey response to that of
Yeah,
like just really off color
yeah.
10-year-old nonsense.
Well, with Deesa's background, which we'll kind of discuss when we get into like everyone's endings and journeys and whatnot, it makes sense as somebody who's been through similar like stuff, making off-colored jokes like that in similar situations. It is very appropriate, and continue to like, praise this game for its realisticness. Like, that is, everyone knew a kid like Dees. Everyone
yeah.
knows a person like Dees still, right? Like, it's tough. But before, do we want to talk about anything else before we go into like our personal endings, and then we'll close it out with like talking about each individual like romanceable character, their endings, because I don't really think, like, if they're non-romanceable, we don't really hear too much about them in like the epilogue.
No. I think
Okay.
there's a couple of little things that I have on here that I'm curious if you two interacted with at all. Like, did you stop the genocide?
Oh yeah. Yeah, the genocide is like one of my favorite parts of the whole
Oh.
game, especially as somebody, because we all dated Tang at one point.
Mhm.
So preventing that is like my favorite part of the whole game, because
Okay.
that screenshot of her like it's one of the beats of that story, of her like just completely strung out, like laying back on the top of a roof, is like
Yeah.
some of my favorite art in the entire game.
That's what
Mhm.
made my roommate like perk up and was like, "What do you what do you
What do you
can I
yeah, what do
watch while you play?"
Who's
'Cause
this?
who is that?
basically, we I had gotten to like, I think probably like 90 friendship hearts, but I hadn't like tried to romance with her because I knew that it was gonna take away my hearts if I tried to. So we were just like basically best friends. Um, and like it was her, she was talking about how stressed she was, and then it cut to that beautiful piece of art. And I was like, I don't know if you guys know the sound, but there's the hello sailor, like audibly went hello sailor. My roommate turns around, sees Tang laid out like that, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna look over your shoulder every so often to
Let
just
me saddle up over here.
look
Yeah.
over. I completely lost my train of thought right now. because I was
I mean,
gushing about how hot Tang is.
that's basically what she does to people.
Yep, that's completely fair.
Yeah, no, that preventing the
Right.
genocide is crazy.
That
Like
was
finding that out and then having that kind of be a part of the romance, at least like for all three of us, is like so satisfying. Like
Yeah.
to be like, you cannot fucking do this. Like this is not okay.
so.
It
You can go.
is that an ending? If you don't
It
let
is.
her, okay. So if
If
you
you-
let her go through with it, that's game over.
Mm-hmm.
It's an ending for like I think you continue on, but yeah, like the ending screenshot is just a bunch of like dead, rotting like animals.
Yeah.
Pretty hardcore.
I got that ending. That's where I
Oh no!
reloaded one of my saves and I
Holy
stopped.
shit, Jess.
Okay, here's the thing. I thought that if I went and like stopped it, because I found it and I kept it to myself. I didn't tell Tang that I knew. I didn't go, like, I went to the depot to go like do my little work and get my kudos.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I saw the option of like stop Tang's what's it called?
The genocide or something like that.
Yeah.
Her experiment.
And,
I don't know
yeah,
exactly what it's
experiment.
called during her.
Something like that. And
yeah.
I was like, no, because then she's going to hate me because it's like an experiment. Because all it said was like that they're doing an experiment with biology and it looks like the fungus from the shimmer.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, whatever. Tang likes doing experiments. I don't want to go like be a narc and then have her hate me. So I'm just going to keep going with it. I didn't talk about it. I didn't look at anything else for it. It's like, cool. I know that information. I'll keep it for later. And then comes the what's it called? The like gathering where
okay.
the
Oh yeah, what is that called?
The
like
Vertemna
yearly
festival or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Vertemna. Yeah.
And the governor explains. I also forgot his name because I did not care for him.
Lux? Lum.
Lum.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah.
Fuck him. Great characters, like design visually.
Just a great character in general. He's very well written. Like it's a piece of shit, but he's very well written.
Very well written. And he explained it all, and I was like, oh, I messed up. Yep. But at that point, it wasn't like a thing of you can go stop it. As soon as he announces it, that's your end.
Shit.
Oh.
So he announces it, and it immediately goes into the cutscene of, yeah, it worked. Yeah, everything larger than an ant did die, but with it, the planet. And then you get this picture of like this rotting. Hold on, I'll find it.
Yeah, one of it's like the unisaurs or whatever, like rotting.
Mm-hmm.
That's brutal.
Yeah,
it's interesting that you found out about it too, because it sounds like there's different ways to get to it. I'm pretty sure that Tang told me about it.
That's what I was going to say.
Stressed and stuff.
Yeah, there's like 3 or 4 different ways of finding out about it, which is so well done. Because you can find out just by working for Lum, like working as his assistant. You'll find out if you have a decent relationship with Tang. You'll find out if you do the sneaking and spying stuff. You find out like there's a lot of different ways of finding out this thing, which is really cool because it basically allows you. Aside from if you're just hyper focused on like exploration and stuff, you know, there's a pretty easy way of finding out for most people. But yeah, that the genetic plague basically is crazy.
Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah, that is definitely, I would say, the worst ending.
Yeah, no, the way that I did it was I was working in the med bay and they left a journal out, and that's how I read the journal. But that was my ending picture.
God damn.
It was I saw it and I was like, holy shit. Immediately after like that, like after I read everything and like I saw my ancient self, load save.
Is that where, because I'm reading on Tang's thing that she, in one of the endings, she does like kill herself. I'm assuming, and that's the ending where she kills herself.
No, it doesn't go on to tell you about anyone because you all end up starving and dying.
Oh, duh. Yeah. Duh.
Brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of different endings. So on the Exocolonist website, there says there's 30, but there's only 29. I think one of them is counted twice. Like as like there's probably like a minor difference kind of thing. Um, but yeah, what other endings did we get? I'm curious.
Oh my god, what was it?
Because there's the basic endings, which are just like you beat the game and you survive to age 20, and they basically give you what feels like a completely random assignment of a role, and then they're like, oh, that's the game. Like for me, the first one I got was collector, and I was like, the fuck? What do you mean collector? Like apparently I just picked up enough stuff, and I was like, I didn't feel like a collector. I was in research. Like they gave me something for yellow, like the whatever category that is, but I was like in research all the time. So I was like, that's dumb. And then for my second time through, I got architect, which was, I guess, just because I was so hyper focused on building Rex's bar. Like,
Oh.
yeah. How about you guys?
I got botanist both times, which was I understood the first one because I was literally always in geoponics to the point where like my parents were even like, there's a thing called school, right? You could go to school instead of here. It's like, okay, damn. Or like my mom was like, there's this thing called kudos. Go get your own money. I was like, oh, okay.
Damn.
But then the second time, my second playthrough, I was like, okay, focused so much on like biology and engineering. I'm going to focus on the humanities this time because I didn't really. The thing that I'm similar with Cal is that I'm a pacifist. So I was like, I don't really care for combat training. I'll do it just so that I have it out in the field. But so my augmentation on my second run was the extra finger.
Okay.
Because it gives you a boost in humanity. In like one of the yellow ones. I don't know exactly which one.
Yeah.
I just call that one the humanities. And I worked in the creche. I like did a bunch of stuff, babysat. I unlocked being a barista in the like new place.
Leads to the best scenes.
Yeah. But in the end, I still got botanist. I was like, I even got second steward, like when you got to be like sign up for seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I signed up to be the second steward with Auntie Sedent, and I got it, and I was like, cool. I'm helping run the creche. I'm gonna get something from the humanities out of this. Got botanist again because my like biology level was a little past the third bump.
Yeah, those I would definitely say my complaint, like all the endings, like the bulk of them are those, right? The collector, the architect, the botanist, like, and they're fun, I guess, but they feel way too random to be like to feel like you attached to that, right? Like the special endings, like the plague ending or the like turn off the array or the like run away with Deece one, like those feel like endings worth like earning. But like the ones that they just kind of like, hey, yeah, here you go. You tick some boxes. Here's your ending. Bill, what did you get? You already said the disable the array, right? That was your first one. Do you want to talk about like what that's like? Because I didn't get that one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Disable the array is basically you do like the sim stuff, and then I was just exploring everywhere. But I almost didn't get it because in order to get it, you have to go hunting in the swamps, I think.
Oh yeah.
And I was also playing mostly like Vase was real into hunting in the swamps, and that was not my vibe. So I put it off for a while, and I was really confused about why I can't go to this last place. So I finally went there, and then you run into, oh no, I forgot what his name is, not Adolescent or something. He's another gardener, but he presents as like a small faceless. So you basically have to you find another one of the underground buildings, and you find out that that is where they are creating all of the faceless and all of the big beasties that are attacking you during glow. And it's like cloning chambers and stuff. And then you find out that in order to shut it down, you have to have a gardener do it, like give you access. So you fight an adolescent a couple times. You have to like track him around the swamps. And then once you defeat him, he continues to come back because they're clones, I guess.
Yeah.
Spoilers. All the gardeners are clones. You find Sim again, and he comes back and fights you when you're trying to take out an adolescent. And you and Vase basically fight them until they die, and then you keep going, and then you shut down the array. And it's basically the programming that brings everything back to life. So you shut down the cloning machines, and then you shut down the they have like some sort there's a lot of stuff throughout the game talking about fungus and how like fungal networks and everything. And basically you shut down the organic network that connects all of the gardeners together.
Hmm.
So you turn it all off, and then Sim just lives a normal life, and like that's like the
And
game
that's his
ends
dream, right?
there. Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
yeah, he wants to just be normal.
Yep. So he like no longer can be cloned or anything, but just like lives out the rest of his life, and that's where the game ends. So I
Mhm.
ended at 18, like halfway through 18, um, and that was it. And you like shut it down, and everyone lives happily ever after. Like you've conquered the planet; it no longer attacks you. But it's not the plague ending where all of the life on the planet still exists. You just are
Right, they're
now
just normal.
on a frontier. Yep. Yep.
So I was just looking up. I looked up Nautilus too. Thank you for sending that in the chat,
Yeah.
Jess. But I was curious because I was like, "What is Cal's augmentation?" Because we talked about that. This boring motherfuckers is resistant to heat and cold. That is it.
Right.
Hmm.
I
That
remember
is.
Yeah.
he was
That's not.
working.
That's cool. It's a cool one, but that's boring as hell. Um, that ending sounds crazy. I didn't realize how in depth that was. Because I know there's a lot of endings that do just end the game. Like
Mhm.
the one I accidentally got, which is the paradox one, for staring up into the wormhole.
Oh, how did you do that?
Yeah.
So let me read the steps because I at one point, and Phil, this is I think why you would like love this game extra is like I had like multiple tabs open on like how to
Mhm.
get special endings because there's like we'll get to it, but how to make congruence your best friend is my
Yep.
end game for this game because it basically gives you a jump. It basically allows you to skip like 4 years every playthrough that you start. It's crazy. So let me pull up endings and then I'm trying to see. I'm on like the shitty fandom website, so like it's never the best.
Tune into my show to hear me and my co-host rant forever about fandom.
Yeah, it's not the best.
Fandom wiki.
Yeah,
Oh,
fandom.
so bad.
Yeah, let me see.
What's really funny is after I searched up or after I played, like I did my entire 2 run throughs. What I clocked, let's see, how many hours did I clock here? I clocked 14 and a half hours in the game completely. But after I was done, I was scrolling on Instagram, um, and I like searched up the hashtag because I was like, I never hear about this, but I'll see. And there's like
Mhm.
this tiny, tiny little like, this is for the 4 fans of I was a teenage exocolonist.
Yeah,
Here's my drawings of all the characters. But that one search changed my entire like the algorithm was completely algorithming on my explore page on
that's
Instagram
so
because it
funny.
immediately went to like all of the different art of all the different characters.
Hmm.
It was just like I was like, all right, that's a little scary, but also it's just the algorithm.
That's very interesting because yeah, this is one of those games that I feel like it got a lot of like heat, like good heat, right? Like it was fairly popular, but like no one talks about this game anymore. Like this game should be talked about way more because
Oh
it's
yeah.
crazy. Like, do I enjoy like the Citizen Sleeper game a little more? Yes, but this game is just as addicting. Like I spent 30 fucking hours like chipping away at endings to get to the transcended time ending. That was the one I got. So uh, the order of operations in simplest terms is you meet and befriend Sim outside the colony. After you unlock Sneak Out during Glow, do so any of the remaining years. You visit the several exploration events where you encounter a shadowy faceless, and as long as you see a faceless silhouette, you found one of them. You get several of those, and then to get to the end of the area, and you'll find a faceless standing underneath the wormhole, kind of like just staring at it. And you need to make sure you have like low stress and stuff. And then you basically just keep staring at it until you like get sucked into the wormhole the from the ground, and then you transcend time. And I got that on my second playthrough. That was one of the few endings I got. And that one was crazy. I was like, yep, that feels like something worth knowing. And that unlocks a lot of like secret options on replayability, because now you've like transcended time. So there's a lot to like explain to people. Did anybody overthrow the government?
I
No.
didn't know you could.
Yeah.
I overthrew the government, and it's great. I ousted Lum, and it was so good. That was the ending I like, my last ending that I got. Because there's two options. You can either you become governor, which you can, or my girl Mars can become governor. And that's what I did, because I was like, fuck that. I'm not going to be governor. I don't want to do that. But yeah, you basically overthrow him, and it's great. Like, you have to go around to each head of each like area and convince them to vote your way, which is really cool. And the funniest thing about this is the way it starts is through your little club, right? That you meet with Mars, Tang, Nem, and Cal. Like, that little group is how you start overthrowing the government. Like, because it starts out as the what is it? What is their name actually? I'm trying to look it up. I know
It's something like super something friend group.
yeah. Let me see.
I did not get
is-
any of this.
Oh, Phil, you would love this shit.
I got the friend group from working at Depot, like at
Yeah.
12.
Yeah, if
Hmm.
you work at the depot, you do unlock that.
Yeah, I never worked in the depot.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like, that's what's so cool about
There's
this
so
game is
many
like if you
jobs.
just if you just do a certain job, you'll unlock a different thing. And I'm trying to think of what it's called, because it is very funny. Let's see. Dang, I can't seem to find it.
Jess, as part of your botanist run, did you end up unlocking the pets?
No, I did, but I didn't, cuz like I kept getting like the new perk, you can now go like to pets in like, but then when I would look for it, it wasn't there. Maybe I like just bugged out my game with all the stuff I was doing. But I definitely want to like go back. That's a great thing about this game is like just I'm able to go back and figure this out because I want a pet so bad.
There's 4 of them.
I had Socks as my unofficial official pet.
Yeah, I had
So-
Optimus Prime.
Yep, me too. Yep, Optimus Prime. Good name.
Yeah, I knew we were in the same age bracket. That name is too good. Yeah, the pets are fun, but eventually, if you just mess around with the debug menu, they become a bit pointless. But yeah, the pets are cool. I don't think I got the last one because I'm missing the achievement to get like all 4. It's called the Secret Fun Time Club, which starts at age like 13, and that leads to you overthrowing the government. It's really great. But I want to see. Those are the endings that I got. Do we want to kind of move? Do you guys have any other ending stuff you want to talk about, or do we want to move into like how the character's story ends and then kind of wrap up from there?
Yeah, I don't have anything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Wait.
yeah, no,
I
go
just
ahead.
remembered one thing.
This is why I asked that question.
It was just a really cute one-off thing that I had because this was something I really liked. In my first playthrough, I randomly found everyone's birthdays.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm a gift giver at heart. So every time I found a flower, I was like, "Here, Nomi.
Yeah.
Here, Tammy." Well, in my second playthrough for
Yeah.
Tammy, but and in my second playthrough, that transferred over. you knew their likes, their dislikes, and their birthdays if you figured that out in your first playthrough, which I really liked because I was like, I'm gonna have to search up like when everyone's birthdays are, and like I don't want to do that. I figured it out last time, and then it was right there. But on Nomi's birthday, there like I think it's on her birthday. That's what happened for me. She was sick, and we played basically an RPG together.
Yes.
And that was one of my favorite. It's one of like my favorite pieces of art of Nomi because she's like an archer in like the RPG regalia. It's so cute.
Yeah.
But that was
great.
where like you find out that she doesn't have like romantic attraction. Going back all the way back to the LGBT point that I made earlier, like asexuality. I have a lot of friends who like don't have the representation because people don't like really like it, I guess. But like seeing it, I was like, oh my God, like that's so cute. And especially because she always talks about like, yeah, everyone back at home like thinks I'm weird for not feeling this like that for other people. I was like, that's so cute. And also, you're such a nerd. And I don't know if you guys had the same conversations with her of like the turbojet girl and all the.
Oh yeah.
I loved like she is, or they are like the most nerdiest nerd there is, and I love them for it. That was really it.
Nami has a hilarious like obsession with media and the the whole like there's like multiple references to being like, yeah, you know, I left before the show ended, so like I don't have the final episodes and you guys do or whatever, and it's so funny. I'm trying to find to see if there's an Easter egg specifically that I'm remembering.
There's one where she literally was like, they were literally like, yeah, I never watched the first season, but the other seasons I watched were great. And like one of the dialogue options were like, you've never seen the first season? It was so funny to me. And like, it was very like our conversations. I was like, this feels like a Sailor Moon stan.
Yes.
Here.
I think there's like a direct reference to that. I think that's the thing I'm thinking of. But yeah, they make a reference that's like exactly like, and then like the scene where I mean, this is just, we can basically just kind of like funnel this into the endings and stuff of characters, but like having where you make up the ending of the show with her because you don't have the final episode is like one of my favorite moments, because it's like, yeah, like what else are you supposed to do? You have to make it up yourself. You got to write your own fan fiction basically, because you're never going to see it. So that's basically what happens. I think on my half playthrough, my plan was to romance Nami, just because they're so interesting. They're such an interesting character. Very strange, but very cool. And I love, there's a conversation you have with them about their augmentation, and they're like, I don't know what it is. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? My parents asked me if I wanted to know, and I said no, so I don't know what it is because I don't want to feel different. And I was like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. I don't want to be pigeonholed into something that I'm supposedly good at because maybe I don't like it. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude, that's incredible. What a cool way to put it. And just a very cool character.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we want to specifically talk? Does somebody want to take a specific character and talk about how things ended? Or do we want to talk about Tang's stuff? Because I feel like we all have personal experience with Tang's ending and how rough it is.
So it doesn't. There isn't a good one. Like there's not a good version of her ending.
The best one I can talk about after you go over what you got, and I'm assuming Jess you also got, and then I got on my first playthrough. But I can talk about the quote unquote good one that happens. But yeah, it's never that good.
Yeah. I just got where like I don't remember my first playthrough. I don't even know if my first playthrough fully like talked about her. But on my second playthrough, when we were dating till the end, it was like she threw herself into work, and like there were multiple times where she was found unconscious because she's so burnt out. She ended up breaking up with me just because she couldn't handle it anymore, and Dees disappeared. And so it was like really rough on her, and it was rough on everyone. And then she ended up, I think, taking her own life, if I remember correctly.
She has a heart attack in her 60s because of lack of sleep. Because her augmentation allows her to sleep less, but it still catches up with her, and it's super sad.
Where did I read that then?
Well, she does. There is an ending. I don't like. I'm on the fandom page. There is an ending that it implies that she does like take her own life, but I have no idea what the circumstances are.
That might have been my first run then.
Maybe. Yeah, I have no idea. Well, yeah. I mean, if you
had the genocide ending,
maybe that is where it is. Yeah, Phil, how did you feel about that ending?
Yeah, I think I don't know if it was a different one, but I remember the tone generally being everything was going great, like she had so much work to do, and then you just slowly drifted apart, and it was rough. It's just like a tough but very realistic way that those things end up going, which I appreciate, but I also kind of like how they just kind of destroy the Mass Effect ending. I feel like last mission you get your smooch and then everyone lives happily ever after until the next one comes out. And it was just like, oh, you did all of this great stuff and you spent all this time working in the lab together and everything's great, but she is still that person. So she's going to continue doing that and you just have to be okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it basically like the fact that she stayed with you that long shows how much she like loves you, because like she put you above her work for as long as she physically could and then broke up with you. Like, yeah, it says Tangent will die of a heart attack in her early 60s no matter what. And the only way that she can have a possibly good ending, she still always leaves you. But did either of you reunite the twins?
I didn't.
Maybe, actually.
So if you were a bartender and did that in Rex's bar, you can, and you keep Deese from leaving, you can reunite the twins. And it is, I can't go into too much detail about it because it is the best thing in the game, I think. And basically you reunite them, you find out about their mom, you find out about like why they are the way they are, because one of my favorite lines in the entire game is early on, because once you start to get to know Deese a little bit and Tang at the same time, you start to get to be able to ask them questions about each other. And one of the things is like people think that Deese is a transphobe, basically, because ever since Tang transitioned to female, they've kind of gone their separate ways. And when you confront Deese about that, he's like, what are you talking about? I knew she was my sister before she knew she was my sister. Like, he's always known that. And he says that line, and I was like, that is some fucking banger writing. Because of course he would know, because he's her twin. Like, but it turns out that the reason is because Tang got all this attention and was praised for being smart, and Deese was just basically seen as a fuck up. And Tang never like stood up for him or anything. And there is some heavy writing that goes into it, and I don't want to spoil it too much, because I think everyone should go enjoy the writing of that scene, but reuniting them is the best thing in the game, in my opinion. It's probably like the fourth time I've said that about this game, but that part is like, it takes a lot of work and it's so worth it. So highly recommend. That is the reason why I got the construction ending, because I was so hyper focused on building that bar when I found out that the bar was my path to Tang and Deese like reuniting and them not having a terrible ending. But yeah, that's Tang. Do you guys want to talk about anybody else? Any moments and stuff? Any other characters? Because I have my ending with Nem that I can talk about, but if we want to talk about other specific characters, like you finished the game with Cal, right?
Yeah.
Jess, so what was that ending like? You guys stayed together, or did you break up?
No, we stayed
even though
together.
he was like dreaming about Tammy every night, like
well, before I get into that, you bringing up that whole story arc with Deese and Tang just made me like realize one of my main reasons for not liking him was a little mean now looking at it. But on their birthdays, I gave them both like their favorite things. I gave Deese a secret device, and I gave Tang medicinal roots basically every birthday, or
Yeah.
cake, but she didn't really like cake, but I appreciate the thought.
Yeah.
But anytime you gave Dee something on his birthday, he'd be like, "Oh my god, where'd you get this?" And then like the dialogue literally, or like the text box literally like said, his shoulders slump, and then he's like, "Oh, did you only get this for me for my birthday? Like go give it to Tang. She'll enjoy the attention more." And I was
Mhm.
like, I literally turned to my roommate. I was like, "This kid is so upsetting. Just accept the
Yeah.
gift and say thank you." But now knowing that perspective, I'm like, oh, he just had his own problems.
They all have their own mental health stuff that
Yeah.
is explored very deeply in that one specifically. And who becomes one character during that whole thing that becomes a pretty good character that I didn't like for most of the time was, what is her name? She's the one of the adults. I can't remember. Is it
The
Instance?
professor?
Instance, who I cannot stand until that storyline, because she does come in pretty. She's the head engineer. She
Mm.
becomes
Oh
pretty.
yeah.
She sucks. She's like, she borders on, like, she's completely like manipulative of Tang and everything, and takes advantage of her like abilities and whatnot. But she's somewhat she's explained a little bit in that storyline, and she comes through pretty good. So I would recommend going back and getting that, because it is definitely worth it. So yeah, on a probably a lighter and
A lighter
much more
note.
exciting, much more exciting note, what was Cal's ending like?
So basically, no matter what, no matter if your mom and dad died, no matter if uh, both of your parents lived, after their deaths, he becomes head of geoponics, lives out his life there. You guys get kids, and you guys just, you like apply for kids, apply for housing, apply for marriage, have your own little nuclear family basically, and you live the rest of your life on the planet happy as can be. And he still misses Tammy. I remember that distinctly, that there are nights where he like misses Tammy, but you're his partner, so you
Uh,
win in the end, I guess.
that sounds like a toxic relationship waiting to happen.
Yeah, that sounds like a Pyrrhic victory to me.
Yeah.
That's
Exa-
In my brain, my headcanon, we married just so that we could say that we were married and have like the tax benefits.
Yeah,
And we
that's what it
both have
feels
our
like.
own ways. Because he was raised in polygamy, so there's no reason he'd be like upset about it.
By the way, we all met his mom, right?
Yeah.
She's so hot. She's like
Did I?
she's the most beautiful character in this game. Like, because there's like very attractive characters in this game. She is like the most beautiful in my opinion. Here, I'll throw her in chat. She's Auntie Tira. Yeah, she is.
Nope. Never met this woman in my life.
Yeah,
Really?
dude. She's like the best part about getting to know Cal.
Cal.
Huh.
Because
Because
he gets like injured. She's like, you need to stop roughhousing.
yeah, she's great. All the parents, everyone that interacts like that are parents in this game are really really nice. Like it feels like of all of the kids, the only ones that got a fucking bad deal in the parents category was Tang and Dees.
Yeah.
And you find out more about that, like I said. But everyone else that is a parent seems like A plus parents. Like your parents in this game are fucking exceptional. Like they're such a nice representation of like good parenting. And then yeah, anything else? Phil, you didn't finish. You didn't get a second relationship, correct? So you just had the Tang one.
Yeah, just the Tang one.
Okay.
That
I
there
just,
was the D stuff
Oh yeah,
that
go on. Talk
that
about.
like I looked up a little bit when I was talking about seeing all of the weird options in Matrix mode. I was clicking around specifically in the it was the glow. I think it was the one of the last glows where there was like three different faceless and you were having your Helm's Deep moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I clicked around. That's how I found out about socks. because
Yeah.
Socks just comes to save the world. Just giant socks crushing
Yeah.
it.
Socks.
But if you click a different option, I found out that is when Dees blows a hole in the wall with
Yeah.
a homemade bomb, because he is helping the gardeners take over everything so that he can join them and become a gardener, which I guess he's able to do in one of the endings. So
Yeah.
there's that. But otherwise,
Yeah.
he mostly runs away, I think.
That's what I'm saying. So like that's why, just to kind of reiterate, like Tang and Dees are the main characters of this game. They have like the most interaction with the actual planet and like have so much involved with everything. Like that you have to stop him from using that bomb and get him to stay. Because I stopped him from using the bomb on my first playthrough, but didn't get him to stay. And then he disappeared and I never saw him again. But you have to stop him from using the bomb and convince him to stay. And you basically have to be his best friend to do it. And then have to have that bar built, and then also have good relationship with Tang. There's a lot of stuff you have to do with like two of the hardest characters to connect with. But it's worth it.
I managed to get him to stay, but I don't think I ever even, because I did the array ending. I ended before I even built the bar. I think Rex was talking about building the bar, and I gave him some mushwood, and that was about it.
Which that was my doing the mushwood like side quest was my least favorite thing because I had like 10 mushwood on me when he asked for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, let me just see if I could bulk give all of this to him. Nope, you have to give him one and then wait like 2 months and then give him another. And there was special times where you could give him 2 presents in like 2 months, which is great. I was like, dude, this is taking forever. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to remember. I'm like literally looking up, trying to figure out Nem's like perfect ending, but it's not perfect. She basically like you end up having kids with her. It's really nice. It's like you end up being the stay-at-home parent, and she basically ends up dying out on patrol pretty young. Like you guys end up staying together, and I think she dies in her like 30s or something like that. She dies like really young, but she's out exploring and stuff, and it's like for her character, I remember being like, yeah, that makes sense. Like she was still being, very dangerous and rambunctious and stuff, but it definitely didn't stand out to me as much as like Tang, where like you have to work really hard to get Tang's approval and stuff, and then she stays with you and dies, and then or leaves you and then has a heart attack, and you're like, fuck, bro. But yeah, that like I'm trying to think. The one other thing I wanted to talk about was, did you guys all find out what Marzipan's augment is? Because it's my favorite in the game.
No.
So, I would like you each to take a turn describing Marzipan as a person. Jess, you go first.
Every time I like clicked on her, I went diva.
Mm-hmm.
She's just words escape me trying to explain Mars.
Yeah.
She's just a very like headstrong, like if you were to put like a astrological sign on her, like stereotypical Aries, like very, this is what I think, I don't care what others say. Like one of my favorite moments in the game was literally her like getting up on stage being like, this is bullshit, Lum, like we don't have to take this.
Mm-hmm.
She's very like, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but I'm looking for a word.
Mm-hmm. Phil, why don't you take a shot at it and see if you find the word that she's looking for?
Oh, jeez. I feel like Mars is very much, she has like this facade of being a preppy, like very put together girl. And then I think the standout moment for her was the Valentine's Day thing, because in my first playthrough, I just picked my best friend. Oh, because obviously she is the uber popular girl. Everyone's going to be best friends with her. So I think I picked Tang. Because of course you do.
Yeah, of course.
And then my second playthrough, I went back and like chose her, because if you don't pick Marzipan, no one picks marzipan.
Mhm.
And she's like kind of devastated about it, that she found out
Mhm.
this cool Earth tradition, and then like no one actually wants to be her best friend
Mhm.
because she like puts out this image of being the one who's put together. Like she is truly a diva.
Mhm.
But like on the inside, she's like very much a sentimental person who just like cares very deeply for everyone. Like she's best friends with Tammy and makes that be weird because she's 10 years old, but ultimately like she knows what's going on everywhere as like a
Mhm.
gossip. So if I was going to pick what her thing is
Mhm.
she just like a really intense empath?
No. She
Interesting. Okay.
feels no shame. So
Oh,
she has
Oh,
uber confidence because she doesn't give a fuck. She
that's
literally cannot
great.
feel shame. So her standing up on that stage yelling to everyone being like the government fucking sucks, and even if it's shut down, she's just like, "All right." Like I'm like going through and talking to her, it makes so much sense.
oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I was like that character, cuz you're like, yeah, she's kind of rude and then she's not and she's really nice. And it's cuz she just doesn't give a fuck. And literally no matter what happens to her, the only time, like you mentioned the Valentine's Day thing, but she bounces back within like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
She's like, "Yeah, I'm good." Like it makes her character make so much sense. And when I
Yeah.
found that out, I was like, because on my second playthrough to overthrow the government, you have to be best friends with her, and so I found out everything about her. And when she found out, I literally had to like pause the game and like I went and go tell my wife because I was like, "You're not gonna believe this. This is the coolest shit ever." She literally has no shame. Like, what a useful thing.
Yeah.
Because that's why she's so confident. She like cares about her image and stuff, but she's like, I don't care. She's like, and when she makes mistakes, she's immediately like, oh, okay. Like if you call her out on things, she never really cares. She usually prefers it. Like it makes so much sense. She's such a fun character. And she like, I think on a future playthrough, I'll probably romance her just because I'm curious where that goes. 'Cause she's a very cool character. But I wanted to point that out before we start wrapping up because that was like one of the cooler moments. So I was like, oh shit, that explains this entire character that she's like so confident because she literally can't feel shame. She has the inability to feel shame, and it's super cool.
Really quick about that.
Hmm.
So with that, did you guys also get her like openly flirting with Tang like right in front of you?
Yeah, it's implied that they like she cheats on you with Mars.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, I might have not been reading too far into it then.
yeah.
But she openly flirts in front, like with Tang in front of you, and then also when she talks about Rex, and she's like that Rex kid's kind of. I'm just saying, I think I could
Hmm.
pull him. I was like,
Yeah,
that is so. They've only been here for like 2 months. You pipe down.
yeah. But now
Yeah,
it
but
makes
that Rex
sense.
is just
So now it makes
down
sense.
Oh
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Rex is
entire
down for
time.
everyone. Which that's another thing. Um, in my playthrough with when I was romancing Tang,
Hmm.
I also was like, well, Rex is also there too. So I was just like having fun with Rex, and I ended up like making a move on Tang, and Tang accepted it, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta go tell Rex
Uh,
because Rex and I were like dating, like
yeah.
everyone knew that we were dating. So it's like I gotta go break up with Rex now. I got my dream girl. Gotta go say bye to Rex. Walk over to Rex and he goes, so you and Tang? I'm so happy for you. And I was like, ah,
Yeah.
you're so cool.
Yeah, he literally is like just down for whatever. Like
Yeah.
That's where I was like when I got to know Rex, I was like, oh, Rex is just the homie. Like
Yep.
he's a smooching homie, he's a hugging homie, he's a hangout homie, whatever you need him to be. He's just the homie, which is very cool.
I
Anything
love
else? Because
the
I have
ability
one
to
more
hug
thing I
him.
wanted to talk about. But did you guys have anything else you wanted to talk about?
Just that I loved the ability to go in for hugs with Rex at any point in time.
And it relieves
There's
your stress.
Yep.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
only one other time, at least that I encountered, where you could hug someone. And it's one time with your dad, and your dad is like, hey, you look a little stressed. Like, are you okay? And it's either like, I am really stressed. I just need my dad, or leave me alone. I'm fine.
Hmm.
And I pressed, I just really need my dad. And he was like, oh, like, called you one of the little, like, my little tomato or something.
Hmm.
And he gives you a hug and it relieves like 15%, like 15 of your stress. And I was like, that's
Yeah.
so nice. But then I couldn't get a hug from anyone else until Rex showed up.
Rex is definitely a hugger for sure.
But
Yeah,
that's
I
So-
feel like the last thing I want to mention is on the marzipan thing too. Deese's augment is that he doesn't feel fear,
Mhm.
oh,
which is
Which is-
also dangerous and very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes so much sense too. Like all the stuff he does, you're like, oh yeah, no, that makes absolute total sense.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
is
like
very cool.
his weird fascination with going outside, and also just he has a very weird, I guess, relationship with death, where he just like welcomes it and also doesn't care about it at all.
Yeah.
And it was very like off-putting, and then you find out, oh no, he's just an emo kid, because the only thing that will like actually terrify him is when it ends. Like
Mhm.
nothing else will hurt this man.
Yeah. No, that's the augmentations, like some of them make so much, like it defines the character when you find out. And then you have Cal, who's just like basically just wearing a sweater or a tank top, like at whenever,
Yeah, just
resistant to hot
guns
and
out.
cold. Yeah, like
Yeah.
you're like, all right, cool. Good job, Cal. But yeah, the thing I wanted to talk about, which was something I found out like towards the end of my playthroughs, was congruence, where there's an ability to choose her as your best friend and get like security codes, and you have to do like 3 different things that take 3 different playthroughs basically to unlock the ability to save the ship from getting like half destroyed when it crashes. You can basically save all of the food, so there's
Oh.
never a problem with famine. And it's like it takes quite a bit to get there. So you have to like Hal has to die, because then you have to go build your relationship with congruence. Then you have to figure out like a really high engineering problem in that same playthrough. And then after that, you have to like figure out what her like you have to find out in another handbook somewhere or something like that, like what the codes are. And then in the future you can like, well, when it resets, you can choose her as your childhood best friend, get to the codes, and then be able to actually use the codes. Because I got to the point where I was able to get to where I could put the codes in, but I didn't have the codes. Like, and I was like, "What do you mean? What? I should know everything." And I was like, "Damn!" So that's a really really cool thing, because you can calibrate the shields, which saves like a ton of time for future playthroughs. So that was something I wanted to touch on. There's so many things about this game. Like, if you're still hanging out here and you're like, damn, I don't have to play this game, I listened to this like hour and a half long episode, you still have to play this game.
You still
There
have
is
to play
so much shit. Like, we didn't even cover most of the people's endings, because like, who knows? Maybe Vase has a good ending. He probably doesn't. He fucking sucks. But maybe he does. We'll probably never find out, but you could. Like,
If you're into assholes like that.
yeah, if you like military like people, sure.
The robot arm.
Yeah, the robot arm's pretty cool. We gotta
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, he's
pretty
got good hair too, so
Yeah.
you know.
He's got great design. His design, everybody's design is great.
Everyone's design.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, I think that's it. I don't have anything else to talk about this game, because I think we covered basically everything. I'm just like looking through the characters one more time. Like, I want to make sure we highlighted everyone at least once. So let's see. We talked about Nem, talked about Deese, we talked about Pang so much. Tammy, I think, is the only person we didn't really talk about. She does have a very interesting mechanic of like, if you have to like keep her in a specific zone. She has her own like confidence level that you can't check, and it basically determines if she's going to be a good mother or not. Or it determines that, or if she's going to be with Cal, or if she can be with you. Like, it's a very weird fine line that you have to like basically follow a guide for, because if you want to date her and her be a good mom, you have to like very specifically answer questions, which I thought was cool. Everybody's got like a certain thing attached to him, right? Like Deese is the outside, Nem is the military stuff, Mars is the government stuff, Tang is all the science things. Like, Rex just has the bar, from what I understand. That seems like his main quest, but I also didn't romance him, so who knows? Maybe there's something there. Cal's is, Cal's is basically attached to Tammy, which is unfortunate for him. But and then Vase, none of us know. Haven't looked into it at all.
I think his deal is that he hates it so much there that he becomes an astronaut. I think is how his whole deal ends.
Oh, really?
I think you can, if you romance him and you go hunting with him or something, you get the astronaut ending and you leave the planet to go find other scary things to fight on a different planet.
I just know you can send that boy to therapy as one of the things, which is hilarious.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm very curious. I definitely will, I think, go back and play through this. Might be a fun game for me to stream now that I like know stuff and I can just kind of like work towards those endings and see how they go. But I think that does it. Phil, thank you so much for joining us. Tell people where they can find you and where they can find your stuff.
Oh boy, I forgot this was the part of the end of a podcast.
Yeah. This is your first time as a guest on a podcast, correct?
This is true. Yeah.
You did a great job. You fit right in. You're welcome back anytime, even though I know pretty soon we're going to be 3-hour time difference and you'll never want to talk to me past like 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, a 3-hour time difference and then main character dies in the first 30 minutes is like not great, but
yeah,
we can work through it. You can find me on Blue Sky. I think I'm at phil.70% complete on Blue Sky. Nailed down that domain. And then everything else, 70%complete.com, or follow the podcast if you want to know all of the weird lore about Helldivers or RuneScape or weird tabletop RPG source books that we have where you play as future dogs that have thumbs. We kind of cover the gamut a little bit. But yeah, you can check all my stuff out there.
Yeah, that'll be in the show notes as well. It is phil.70percentcomplete.com. So you nailed that. That's his,
remember my own handle.
Guy. Yeah. And what is the episode that you guys did that I'm like obsessed with? The RuneScape one, the like murder, basically.
Oh yeah, the Falador massacre. I think was our Halloween episode. High level log line. A weird event happened where there was a bug, and there was able to be player versus player killing in an area of an MMO where it's not allowed. And there was a series of people who found out about it and somehow managed through a large amount of luck to get away with it and fully do a murder across like several places in this town. It's
what time period did this take place in again?
It was like 10 years ago, I think, like 2016 or so.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like it literally is like true crime for like a video game. It is. I've told Phil this before. It is literally like my favorite episode of a podcast that came out last year. It is gripping. So go check.
It's fantastic. Yeah, check that out. Falador Massacre.
Yeah, that's all. That was all Logan too, right?
Yep. Yeah, that was all him.
He did. He crushed it. But that was a really good episode. But now for our socials, Jess, take it away.
You can find us everywhere at Short Long Pod, or you could genuinely just search up Short Game Long Talk, and we pop up before all the golf stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's really it. And in all of our bios, you can find us at find our link tree that links us to our Discord, the Leveling Friends group, where we chat about games and have very interesting questions of the day sometimes.
Some of them are unhinged.
Yeah.
They come out of nowhere.
Sometimes the what's it called? Dialogue between all of us just gets like kind of into argumentation territory. I'm still in and out over Culvers, but you know.
Yeah, our Discord is quiet until it's not, and then everyone like swarms it for like 30 minutes, and then it's quiet again. It's very funny. It's all because we're all like in our own other Discords and stuff, and then we just sometimes converge for a minute there. But another thing about our socials is February will be the last month that we are active on Threads and Instagram. We will continue to be active for the rest of this month, but then starting in March, we will only be active on Blue Sky. We will not deactivate the account, so if you do listen and you want to get in touch with us through Instagram or Threads, that's fine. Feel free to do that. We will still have those open, but we're not going to post on there anymore. So make sure you go on Blue Sky. It's the place to be. But if this is your first time listening, thank you for making it through this long and crazy episode. A lot of things were discussed all over the place, and it was a good time. And if you liked it, please leave a review on Spotify or Apple Music. Hell, if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube, I know there's some YouTube listeners out there. Leave a comment about any characters you may have romanced that we didn't. Maybe we're missing out on Vase. Who knows?
Who knows?
I don't know.
Sell me on Vase.
Yeah, sell me on Vase, please. I would love a dissertation on that. But if you're a returning listener, share the show around. Send it to somebody you might think would like this episode. Or maybe you've been waiting for somebody to perfectly pitch this game in 20 minutes. You can tell them, listen to the first 20 minutes of this episode, go play a 12-hour game, and then come back and then finish the episode. Because that's okay, too. That happens. Sometimes we get spikes a month later after games. It's like we get like 10 listens and then another 10 listens like a month later. It's very funny. So I really appreciate you guys for hanging out. I appreciate Phil for coming on.
Yes, thank you.
And as always, don't forget to kidnap your friends.
Later.
Bye.
They both left. And I'm all alone and Craig's still recording. Which means it's my time. This is the intermission for Jess.